Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for another Foam Stamps 101. Today we are going to make sticker stamps. So in the kids department at the different stores, they have all of these the fun foam stickers. And we're going to turn them into stamps. So all of these, I just have them in a drawer. They've come from Vacation Bible School and like these ones I actually bought for one of our series to make stamps out of a long time ago. These ones I think also. So like I've got some of them. These are glow in the dark flowers. And we've got some hearts here. A lot of these came from the Salvation Army or garage sales. I pick them up when I see them. The older they are, like these I've had forever. And the older ones are quite thick. Like these are actually as thick as, like here is a piece of scrap. But you can see that those are the same thickness. So I don't need to do anything with these. But most of them are really, really thin. And so, like these ones came out of this flower packet. But they are super thin. And so they don't make the best stamp. They're kind of like as thin as the really thin fun foam that I showed you where I said glue 2 or 3 layers together. So that's what I do with these when they're so thin that they're just not thick enough. They're too close to the backing cardboard so that when you go to put ink on them, you know, the backing cardboard could very easily touch. I just put 2 together. And now they are sticky on the back, so... And the thing is, if you don't have any of these little stamps, you can cut out your own fun foam in these shapes. This is just a really easy way, and especially since a lot of these shapes are kind of detailed and tiny, it gives you detailed stamps that you can use on your projects with all of the detail instead of having to try and cut that out. So what I'm going to do is just... Instead of just sticking them together, the sticker sides together, or put the sticker to the next one, I always put glue on it. Because, whoops, I glue it and then glue them together. Because that way, we know they're not going to come apart eventually. I have some of these... which ones? Oh, I think it was these crosses. When I take this paper off the back, they're not even sticky. Where the sticky part was supposed to be. So just go ahead and before you stick them together, put some glue on it instead of using the adhesive that's already on the sticker. And then put them together. And then what I usually do is I put a bunch of them together, whichever ones I want to do out of each of the little packets. And when I get them put together, then I go ahead and peel the backing off and glue them to the cardboard. And again, you want to glue it down to the cardboard. You don't want to just stick it to the cardboard because eventually it could come off. You know, that sticky does not last forever. Not like glue. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there. And it's easier when you're trying to put them on the cardboard. When you're trying to put them together, you kind of have to put the glue on the sticker. But when you're putting them on the cardboard, just put the glue on the cardboard. And if you're doing a bunch, I get to this point where they're all stuck together, 2 layers. And then I just go ahead and I just paint some glue right onto my cardboard. And then stick it to the cardboard because it's just easier than trying to get it on all, because you really want to make sure that you get those edges glued down well. So this way you know you've got glue everywhere instead of missing a spot on your sticker. So then you're just going to glue them to your cardboard, sit a book on top of them, and let them sit for a while or overnight. I like to leave them overnight. Then you know that they're really dry. Now, some of these, like to me, this is hard to cut in between all of these shapes. So when I cut this one out, I'm just going to cut around it to get my stamp. I'm not going to have to go between. If you want to know exactly where everything is at, you can do that. You can go ahead and cut around each area so that you know exactly where, when you're stamping, exactly like where you're going to put it. But you kind of have a pretty good idea by just, and I'm not going to cut this one out yet. It definitely needs to sit for a little bit, and it should sit underneath something heavy. So I'm going to stick it under a book over here and let it sit. So a bunch of these I've already done because you don't need to see me glue them together and glue them to a piece of cardboard. So I thought that we would just go through like cutting them out and getting ready for stamping, and then stamping them and seeing what they look like. So for this flower, because it is just kind of a rounded flower, I'm just going to cut around it. I'm not going to try and cut out those little V's between the petals. You can do that if you want to. And because the cardboard is towards the back, you can do it without cutting the cardboard. You can go in, or I mean without cutting your foam stamp, because it's way back here. You can go in and, you know, nip that off so that you know where it's at. But I don't like to have sharp points on my backings, because for some reason when there's a sharp point there, it seems to want to grab the ink. So then I would just want to cut that off to make sure it's not sharp. But to me, I'm good with just having it cut around the edge like that. So, and then you're just going to go in, and if like this little ladybug had the little holes in it, and so I punched out the top layer of holes, but I didn't punch out the bottom layer of holes because that will hold it far enough away from that backing so that we actually get the gist of the holes. And then the butterfly, if you can see, it is actually partially cut out like this. It's not completely cut out, but so these lines may leave a little bit of white line where the cutout is, and so that will show up on your sticker instead of it being a solid butterfly. Now, it's so fine that that may or may not show up. Kind of like when we did this one here, because I had cut straight across here, even though there's not a dent there, or I mean, you know, there's not anything missing, there's a dent, and so you actually do wind up seeing the white because of where I cut it. It dented down a bit, and so you see that. So that's what this may or may not look like because it was cut by a machine. I'm not sure how that's going to look, so we'll find out when we stamp it. But I'm just going to cut around his little legs and everything, and again, I like to do rounded shapes. And you can kind of like make your little bumps here so you can see where his legs are and everything. And then we'll put handles on the back and we can stamp them. But little stamps like this come in so easy, or they come in so handy. You know, when you want to just put a little decoration on something. And so even like the labels that we made, you know, you may want to have a little bit of decoration on them. And these are small enough where you could use these flowers to go ahead and put a little bit of decoration on those little tickets and labels. And so that is, it's a nice thing to have, and it's easier to buy them this way because they're so tiny, and you get the detail with this versus trying to do it by hand. But you can cut them out by hand and just take your time. Sometimes when you're trying to cut something this small with little details, like a pair of cuticle scissors works really well. And you can get little kits like at the dollar store that have like the cuticle scissors and everything in it. And you can just buy one of those, and then you'll have that little tiny pair of scissors that will cut smaller shapes for you a little bit easier. So I'm just going to, and I figured all of these are 2 layers. And I figured it was just easier for me to go ahead and glue them together and let them sit because they take a while. They want to slide around on each other. And even when you put them on the painted, when you've got the glue painted on the cardboard, you know, they kind of want to slide around on that too. So they're harder to cut out. And when you have the 2 layers, you definitely want to let those 2 layers that you've glued together, you want to let those dry before you try cutting, because you don't want those sliding around and it's sliding around on the cardboard, and it makes it very hard to keep everything put together. But they're so easy. And then you can do things like with the heart stamps, I did a background one. And so I just put them on there, let some of them hang over the edges, and then I just cut a straight line so that it would be a background stamp. And then a couple of the little extra pieces that I had cut off, I put one here and I put one here, just to kind of fill in a couple of spaces. So we'll see what that looks like. So that would just be little hearts for the background. You can also take them, and I'll use a regular pen on this so you can just kind of see. You can take them and you can put decoration on them. So you can go ahead and remember, if you have and I do repeat these things because I never know who's seen the other videos before this one. So if you have a pen that has run out of ink, those are the best things to keep to do this with, so that this ink doesn't come off on your project, because it will, depending on what ink you're using to stamp with, it could come off on your project, and you might not want that ink doing that. But I'm doing this so that you can see. But normally I use an ink pen that has run out of ink, and then you just go around and around a few times to get that dent way down in there. And now that, instead of being a solid heart, will have that shape. You can, like we do with the pen here, you can put little polka dots on it. And that's the fun thing about Fun Foam is that it takes the different shapes or indentations, the marks that you want to put on it. It's really easy to do that. Put one more there. We'll call that one good. So you could put little swirls on it. I like to do the swirls. That's one of my favorite stamping things, is something with swirls on it. But you just go around enough times to make sure that that foam is dented in. This one doesn't seem to want to dent as easily. Maybe give it just a little bit of a swoop out there. I usually try, if I'm doing something like this, to make this swirl go this way and then that swirl would go the other way, but I didn't do it, so it is what it is. I can't change it now. And just do that until you're happy with what you've got. So I'll do this third one to fill in my heart, and then we'll see what it looks like. And there were so many hearts in that package that if I don't like it, but I really want one with swirls on it, I can try again. And so there we go. And then you can have just plain hearts of the different sizes. And you can cut it out exact, or you can just cut it out closely. You just don't want your cardboard to stick out too far. You don't want to do it like a wooden stamp where you've got the big square next to it, because you don't want that touching your ink and then touching your paper. So since you're going to cut it out anyways, it's just as easy to cut to cut around it when you're doing all your cutting as it is to just cut it into blocks. Plus, if you get them, you can get more on a piece of cardboard if you're not worried about having a big square around your stamp. And I see that I kind of got on the edge where it's folded, which you actually want to try to avoid those places. Like there's a fold in the cardboard here. And you want to avoid putting your stamps on those because that could show up through your stamp when you're trying to press on it. And if you put it right in the middle of your stamp, it could actually fold on you and make it harder to stamp with. So try and avoid those folds on your cardboard. This is just a graham cracker box, which I have a bunch of them because my dad used to love graham crackers. So he would get them in like, I think it was like 3 boxes in a bigger box at Sam's Club. And so the outside bigger box is a touch thicker than the inside boxes, or it seemed to be. So I kept those. And now I use those for all of my backings. And we don't use corrugated cardboard because corrugated cardboard has the waves in it. And where those waves are, it's solid where the wave comes up and touches the back of your cardboard, and then it's a little bit weak where it goes back down again because it's wavy inside. So there we go. Now we have all of those. And so this is just like how easy it is. Look at all of these stamps that we have. And yes, it did take me a little while to glue those together and let them dry. And then, you know, put them on there. But it is so simple that, and you can get so many different shapes out of just very little, like one package. This is one package. Those are one package. And I think there's a few more shapes in that package. This one, we can have all of these. Plus we've got our background stamps. And, you know, the doodles, those are endless. You could doodle on them until you run out of ideas. So it is such an, now these ones all had glitter on them. So the side that had the sticker paper on it, the sticker paper just fell right off and it's not sticky. So that's what I was talking about. Like, that's why we glued these, because eventually the sticky on these stickers goes away. And so I went ahead and put the side that was on, that the sticker paper was on, I put that up because on the outside was glitter. I'm not sure how that will stamp. So I did do one. I did the fish here in the little center that came out on the glitter side so we could see how that works. But because I was going to do that anyways and try and figure out how to, I figured if I used some paint or possibly even the inks might make the stickiness go away. But then when I went to peel the sticky paper off, the stickiness was already gone. So now here is this. And again, I just want to go in and kind of like round off these corners a little bit because I just don't want them to touch my paper and cause a problem. So there we go. So now we could just cut all of those out. And this one is very, very tiny. But sometimes it's perfect. It's just the perfect thing that you need. And trying to cut this out by hand would be a little bit difficult. Nothing is impossible. You can do it. And if you take your time and just enjoy what you're doing, you know, don't think that you have to get it all done in a really quick amount of time. Just go ahead and stick some together for a while and then glue some together. And then when you get to try them, that's always the big reward, is when you get to see how they're going to look when you're done. So, trying to see here if I had any other. I kind of wrote down a couple of the tips just in case I forgot, but in looking at them, I think I've told you all of them. So use more than one layer. I think I have 2 layers of these because they were a little bit too thin also. And 2 layers of all the flowers. only one layer of the hearts because they were thicker, and that's probably because of how old they are. And there's 2 layers of these, which they're a little thicker than the flowers were, but I wasn't quite comfortable with how thick they were, so I just glued another layer because then I know I'm safe. And the biggest thing is that cutting it close, the cardboard close, really does make it so that the chance of it getting on your project, that's the biggest thing, is whatever sticks out might get on your project. And so that's what we're trying to avoid by thickening up the stamp. But there we go. All right, well, we only have 2 left to go. And I'm going to show you the stamps that we made that we glued, but we had to let them sit on the last video for the tickets and the I always want to call them tags, labels. I went ahead and I cut them all out and I have stamped them. So I'm going to show you those 2, show you how they turned out. I really like them. And I pulled out my distress inks because I really kind of like them distressed. So there we go. So now we have, I didn't do any of the fish, but I did do the flowers, and I did the hearts, and I did the crosses. And in looking at this one, and I did not do this one, but this is a butterfly with parts and pieces. And what it looks like it has is it has some smaller and some larger teardrops, which I think that you're supposed to put in there, you know, like you'd put a bigger one here and a smaller one there. It also has the shape of a body. It has some little circles, I'm guessing, to put like a dot here, and then you could just put a swoosh for the antennas. But this, or you could even maybe put those dots on here. If you were to put that together, like glue these onto here, and then you tried to stamp it, that would just show up just the parts that you glued to the top, because the blue wouldn't show. But you could glue the blue to a piece of cardboard, and then you could glue these either individually, or you could glue them to a blue one, and then glue that whole thing on top of a cardboard, so that after you stamped the butterfly solid color, then you could stamp all of the little pink parts on top of it, just like our layered flowers. You could do that also. So that would be a fun thing to do. I didn't bother taking those out because I was kind of really going for the little mini stamps at this point in time. And here's the one that we did. So we'll just cut this one out too, so that we'll be able to stamp all of them. I should have maybe cut some out to start with, so that I could have the handles on them already. And it takes a second to put the handles on them, but it is so worth it. It is so not frustrating to get ink all over your hands. And, you know, it's like, let's just not be frustrated about it. Let's get the handle on them. And then when we go to stamp, there's no ink on our fingers, and they're easier to put down and to pick up. So, in order to do the handles, we use masking tape. Just rip a piece of masking tape, hold on to both sides, push up your handle in the middle, and then there's got a piece of sticker on the back of it. Put it on your stamp, just like that. And then you can cut off the excess, because if you don't cut off the excess, it will get on your project. Just like corners, that it just loves to reach right down there and grab a hold of the ink and then get on your paper. But there we go. So there's the handle. So you can hang on to that just like that and use that. for your project. So let's, I'm trying to think how many I should, really don't need 2 handles for that one. 1 would be enough. I'll just kind of get them on quickly and then we'll go through and cut them off. Thank you very much for stopping by and watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. I'm doing as many this week while I'm on vacation as I can, so that each Saturday morning, one of the videos will come out for you to watch. This is my 5th video. So, and I have 12 ideas that I would like to teach you. So I'm hoping to get them all done. It's just really hard to to work 40 hours a week, and then when I come home at night, I'm just tired. I want dinner. I'm going to watch a show and go to bed. But even on the weekends, it's like there's just things that you need to do on the weekends, and there's just never seems to be enough time. So I'm hoping to get enough done that we will have enough of these videos to get us all the way till about Thanksgiving. And then it's kind of busy around Thanksgiving time. So I think between Thanksgiving and Christmas, people don't watch as many videos. And so if I can get something else done then, I will. But if I can't, I'm not going to worry about it too much, because I think that everybody's going to be kind of busy anyways. And then try and get back around January. So, but, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but if you want to make sure that you don't miss the videos when I get them up, if you press the bell and ask it to notify you, it just sends you like a email or a text message or something that just says, hey, this person put up a video. It's not like you have to watch it, but it lets you know. It's a good way to not lose your favorites channels, or channels that you like to watch, because sometimes if you don't watch the same channel for a while, the computer doesn't suggest for you to watch it. And so even if I put one out, it won't tell you that I've got one out there. And it's very easy to just kind of like, well, if I don't put a video up for a month or 2, well, then it's easy to get just, like just watch other channels and not even think about, trying to find my channel. I've had people say, oh my gosh, I lost you. And, I kind of forgot about you. And now I found you. And I'm so happy I found you. So, and the reason they lost me was because since I've been back to work, my videos are coming out very sporadically. No matter how hard I tried at any point in time to like restart a series or anything like that, it just, life happens. So, if you want to make sure that you don't miss my videos when they come out, because I'm hoping to have a series for you in January. I am going to have time off between Christmas and New Year's, so I'm hoping to do the same thing and have another series come out starting in January. But then again, that series will come out like almost a month after this one ends, because I think that I'll have enough to get through Thanksgiving with this, and then I won't start till the beginning of the year. So if you haven't watched me in that month because I don't have anything out there, then the computer does not suggest. So anybody that you don't want to lose, if you click on the bell, that's the easiest way to not lose them. And I do appreciate you taking your time to watch my videos. Just trying to keep things going so that when I do retire, my channel is still here. Because we have a really good community here, and I very much enjoy it. And I enjoy doing these videos, and it keeps me busy and it keeps me connected. So we'll just, I don't suppose I need to do all of these, but we don't want to make a mess of our tags either. why do I keep calling them tags? Our tickets and our labels, because I think that I'm going to put some of these, and I'm going to show you how I've got them stamped and how you can go ahead and kind of decorate two at the same time of like the tags, or not the tags, of the labels or the tickets. It's kind of fun to do them like half of a flower on one and half on another, so we're going to try that. Get that off of there. And I think that maybe we're just gonna I've always been very good at like explaining how to do things, but not very good at chatting with you. So that's the hardest part when I used to always turn the videos off to do this part that was going to take forever. And then start back up again with, okay, so this is what we do next. But now that I don't have an editing program, I have to do these parts and chat. And I don't know what to chat about. So let me know in the comments if you're enjoying the series. And if you have anything that you would like me to add to the series, because I might be able to get to that. And also, if there's anything else that you would like me to do a series on, because I am going to have to do a new series, hopefully starting in January. Well, hopefully I'll get it ready while I'm on vacation in December, so that you'll have something to watch once. Oops, I missed that one. Because it seems like after the holidays are gone, this is a good place to show up, is the YouTube crafty community. So it gives you something to do. It helps keep your mind busy, and that's, you know, like you've spent so much time being busy with everybody that even though it's nice to have things slow down a bit, it can kind of feel a little bit like lonely because you're so used to it being busy for a while. So just show up for the crafty community. They'll be there for you. Everybody likes to chat with each other and show each other what they've done. So there, here we go. Now we've got them all done and we've got them all cut out. And so this has been 33 minutes, and it probably took me, it may have taken me an hour to glue all of these to the ones that needed to be glued together, and, you know, to get them glued to the cardboard. I would say at the most it probably took me an hour. So in an hour and a half, we have all of these stamps that literally cost just about nothing. Even if you had to go and buy, that was one set, two sets. I have 3 sets of the foam stamps here. Even the little bug came with the flowers. So $3.75 from the Dollar Tree. So, and all of these stamps. And you can use them in so many different ways. But like here are some of the labels. And like I said, I like to do a bunch of the labels, you know, stamp them all out and then go ahead and cut them later. So here are a bunch of them. Some of these were the ones that we made and glued. And some of them were the ones that I already had done that we've already sampled. But these are all of our stamps, all of our tickets and labels that we did. And then what I did was I glued my little template to the top for my corners. And I am going to show you, I'm not exactly sure like what week it will be, but I am going to do a video on how to store them. Because the thing is you don't want it like, you don't want them to be banging into each other and putting dents. Like with this one, I use the Phillips screwdriver to put the dents in it. But if this one sits on top of this one in a box and it pushes into there and puts a dent, that dent is stuck in your stamp. And now it's going to show up like this shows up. That's the Phillips dents here. Well, if you get a dent in the center, then that's going to show up white on your stamp when you stamp it. So you want to be careful the way that you store them. And so you want to try and like have a piece, you can have a piece of cardboard or a piece of cardstock even, but try and put them, like I usually lay them down like this. But we're going to make a storage box for them so that, you know, so that you'll have a place to put them. And, but they will be in layers like this. There will be layers inside the box that will hold the stamps like this so that they're not being, they're not getting banged into each other and putting dents, especially like when you wind up with a stamp that's your favorite and then it winds up with a dent in it. You can kind of try heating that dent with a heat gun. You have to be, you know, careful not to melt them. But if you have any other decoration on it, it may lift that too. If you heat up the foam, what happens is the dents kind of get, it kind of goes back to normal. The ones that you've drawn in, especially, you know, those ones don't come out as easily, but the dents sometimes do. But see, these are the ones that we stamped. And so I went around the edges with some brown distress ink and some orange distress ink, and I cut them all out. And then I just throw them in a container like this so that when I need them, and all of these will get cut out and thrown in there too. You can do separate colors or whatever. I put them all together so that when I'm on a project, I can just look through them and say, oh, I think I like this one, and I can try it on my project and say, no, that really doesn't go. Maybe how about this one? And so I do like having them, you know, just like all together. I will cut all of these out and they'll go in there. But first, let's like decorate them up just a little bit, and not all of them, because some of them you may want to decorate later when you find out what project you're going to put it on. But in this container is just like from Ham, so you don't need to buy anything special. Got that one stuck under the lid. To store your stuff. Just like keep the things that you have around. Now let's try these out, and I want to put a few of them on here. And then I've got another piece of paper that we can stamp with. But let's take this one right here because it's good size. Let me just grab some colors here. I kind of want red. Worn lipstick. Hopefully that's dark enough. So let's try this stamp. You want to make sure that you, like, my ink pads are really starting to get dried out. So you want to make sure that you get the ink all over your stamp. And the only thing with the colored stamps is sometimes it's hard to tell. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it like right here. So what's going to happen is it's going to be a little bit on each one of these. And we're going to make sure that we press down around the edges. And not hard, but just, and give that ink some time to get off of the sticker and onto the project. And so now we've got a little bit of flower on each one. Now, it looks a little funny like that, but when you cut them out, I really like to do this because it's really hard. Like in this case, for me, I have to cut these out. I can't leave them on my paper because I look at it and I think that just, you know, like it, I can't see it in my head. I can see the whole thing. I can't see just what it's going to look like after I cut it out. But I love the way when you do this, how they just peek onto your label. And these darker labels, because I use some darker inks, you know, the Stamp Off, which is this one, because you usually can get at least 2, if not 3 stamps when you ink up your foam stamps. The Stamp Off is light enough to use like regular pen on. The other ones that are kind of dark, where I use the dark ink and they're a little too dark to write on maybe, you could use white pen on those, like a white gel pen. And you can get those at the Dollar Tree too. You don't need to buy anything like super fancy or expensive. But see, isn't that cute how that, and that doesn't look anything like it looked when it was on there. So, and then you can just go ahead and, I don't have a sponge here for it, but then you can just go ahead and you can ink around the edges. I do not normally ink around the edges like this. I use a craft sponge. Here's one. Because to me, that can kind of, it can kind of rip up the top of your ink pad when you're rubbing, because paper is sharp, you know, you can get a paper cut, so it actually can kind of cut into your stamp pad, especially this one has a solid, like, almost like a canvasy type top, but a lot of them it's just like a sponge, and they really can rip into that. But then even when you go ahead and you put, here, we'll put it on here, just even putting that edge on it just gives it even another little something. So this is something that's really good. And these little ones, you know, you can take the whole little stamp and put it on there. You can, you know, let it just peek in over the edge. You know, the little cross would look really cute on these little ones here. So, but let's stamp them all. Let's get a piece of paper up here. I really like the way those two turned out. So they're going to go, so that I don't lose them because I make such a mess here. I'm going to put those in here right now. And it's fun once you get all your different colors in there. It's really fun looking through them, trying to pick for your project. Okay, so we'll just do some different ones in different colors. And you can, if you want, try and we'll get some orange up here. And then, got a little orange on that one leaf. Get some green there. And stamp it down. And the biggest thing with your foam stamps is you do want to make sure that you massage the edge to make sure that you get the edges down. And there we go. That turned out really cute. And let's see if we get a second generation or not. Again, make sure you press the edges down. And not much. It pretty much all came off there because the Distress inks are not quite as dark. Okay, so let's do, we'll do a red bug. Oh, I should have done a different color bug because my fun foam is red, so I can't tell if I have the ink on the whole thing or not. And these are really fun too. Like you can cut these out. I don't make them like this very often. I'm not even going to try for a second generation. I want blue. I don't normally like cut out small embellishments like that. I use my stamps. So, I think this is purple. Yep. I use my stamps when I want something like this. Now, this is the one with the glitter on it. So, let's see how this works. Because that was the one thing I didn't know if... I don't know if that glitter will even pick up the ink or not. We will find out. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I want to show you that one up close. See it? It's all little dots. If I can bring this up a little bit. I really kind of like the looks of that. So let's see. So we've done our fish, and we've done our bug, and we've done that one flower. So, but this is, you know, this is something that also that you can do. And then, you know, stamp a bunch of them and then sit in the evening and cut them out. I do like to have my labels and tickets already cut out and kind of ready to go, but I don't usually do these types of things very often. because I don't use them that often. So usually if I want a flower on a project, I'm going to stamp it on there. And another tip, if you want something on a project that is very bumpy, so you can't stamp on it because it's not going to take, because there's maybe a fold or something in the paper that's part of your project. What you can do is stamp it on tissue paper, white tissue paper, and then cut that out and use white glue, watered down white glue or Mod Podge or whatever, to Mod Podge it to your project. And the tissue paper kind of disappears in the background, and you can kind of see through it. It really looks good. And that is a way that if you want to stamp, but you know darn well that if you stamp, it's not going to touch the paper in quite a few places. And so you know that that's not what you want to do. You can always just stamp on tissue paper and cut it out. And actually, tissue paper does blend better if you rip it when you're gluing it. So, but it's nice to have these also so that you know what you have. And let's see what this one looks like. Like, you don't even have to cut them out. You can have a sheet of paper that has all of your stamps on it, and you can use that to look at to say, oh, that stamp would look nice on my project, or that stamp would look nice on my project. There we go. There's our swirls. So see, they really do turn out pretty neat. Let's see, what other colors do we have here? Where'd the orange go? Here's the orange. Let's do this one in orange. And I'm going to kind of really hurry through these because we are already getting close to time. And the biggest thing is that when I'm watching somebody make something, I kind of want to see how it turns out. So I really want you guys to be able to see how this turns out versus just showing you next week if I remember. Because that happens a lot too, is I forget to even... If you don't get to see it the week of, then I forget to show you the next time. But I think that they're turning out really nicely. This one kind of got smudged. You have to be careful about letting them move. Let's just do this solid one. And the nice thing, if it's a lighter color fun foam, you can kind of see whether you've got ink all over the whole thing or not. Let's do this little glitter. This kind of looks like a little eye. I do like eyes in my project. I have a thing about them. This red is not dark enough to show. Doesn't really show very much. Would need a different color. Oh, let's do the background one too. And I have got ink on my hands. Now this little one here would look really nice in black on our tags. I'm going to just try this. And it's not a tag, right? How many times have I said that? How many times did I say it in the last video? Goodness knows. Put this on our label. Fits on there perfectly. All right, let's do... All right, we'll do these hearts in green because the green is looks like it has quite a bit of ink. And because these are all like separate stamps, you're going to want to, like, it was a little bowed in the center here when I could tell when I looked at the ink. See, we're missing some there and some there, so we're just going to go like that, and then we're going to press down on the middle of that one. And that's where I like paint pads a little bit better, which we did those a few weeks ago. If I'm going to be doing a lot of stamping, I definitely would prefer making my own paint pad, because to me it just like gets on your stamp better, especially the foam stamps. And these are Distress inks, and they're getting kind of dry. You know, I really haven't used them in a while. I do spritz the Distress inks with water sometimes if they're getting really dry. My thing is, if you ran out of ink, you ran out of ink. You're not going to get more. But if they just dried out a little bit, putting some water, because this is a reactive ink, I'm putting some water on the pads will bring it back to life. And then I do store them upside down. So I store them this way because that keeps the ink towards the top of the pad. Yeah, those look good. So there we go. That is our project for this week. So just a bunch of little fun foam stickers can really give you a lot of fun. And then like this flower, find my handle, this flower right here, remember when we did the, we did all of the different grasses and leaves and everything? So with that flower, you could go ahead and put a stem on there, and then the grass is coming up. And that would be really fun. You could stamp something in the middle. So there's our little triple heart. And we'll do our solid heart. I should have tried to find, since I had a bunch of hearts, I really should have tried to find a better red one. There we go. Is that all of them? Looks like we have one more. And I think that's, oh, no. Look. This is one of the best ones. I loved the dragonfly and the butterfly. I thought that they were both really cute. And I'm just going to quickly try and do this one. I'll put that one on there. Even without a handle, I'll just try and not get it on me. And I do have a bunch of underwater ones, so those are fun. If you look, actually I saw some the other day. I think they had dinosaurs, which I think my grandson would love. He's into dinosaurs right now. So I might have to get that one so I can make some dinosaur stickers for him to play with. Or he can, and actually he could help me make some dinosaur stickers. Or not stickers, stamps. Out of the stickers. There we go. So that was super simple project, very reasonably priced. You can cut these out for embellishments, or you have all of these stamps now to stamp on your different projects. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.